Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Game 1 of the 1992 Stanley Cup Championship Series between the Campbell Conference champion Chicago Blackhawks and the Wales Conference champion Pittsburgh Penguins.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Pittsburgh Sports Memories Podcast. My name is Tim Hannon, and I am joined by my co-host,
Steve Wirt.
And in this episode, we're going to take a deep dive into one of the greatest single games in the history of Pittsburgh sports. It's Game 1 of the 1992 Stanley Cup Finals between the Penguins and the Blackhawks. So this is a game full of momentum swings, huge plays. It's one that really to this day is remembered by, I think, all of us who watched it. So I thought it would be a fun one to just sort of like really dig into the depth of. And we'll start with some background of what brought us to this point. How did we get here to Game 1 of the 1992 Stanley Cup Finals? So let's go back first to 1991. Because the Penguins win the Stanley Cup that year. We did a whole episode detailing that run and what a magical moment it was, not only for the city, but also for this franchise who just had nothing but bad luck throughout its history. And unfortunately, that bad luck still continues after they win the Cup because the coach of that team, a guy named Badger Bob Johnson, is diagnosed with brain cancer and he passes away a few months later. That was pretty shocking at the time, Steve. If you remember, we just won the Stanley Cup and the coach is dead before the next season even starts, really.
I would say that's roughly one of the top 5 saddest moments in Pittsburgh sports. I mean, outside of Clementi's plane crash. Yeah, I mean, it was devastating. People were devastated. And I think the Penguins had a candlelight ceremony at one of the games, before one of the games. And I mean, luckily they had a guy on the bench that was a pretty good coach. So
yeah. And that was fortunate. So the guy Steve's talking about that steps in as interim head coach, it's a gentleman named Scotty Bowman. And his resume is pretty impressive. He had won 5 Stanley Cups in the 70s as the coach of Montreal. I think he had been to 8 Stanley Cup Finals because he had taken St. Louis there before Montreal a few times. And by this point in his life, Bowman kind of seems like he's done with coaching. He was a TV commentator for a while, and then he became the director of player personnel for the Pens. But when Johnson dies, Bowman takes over the coaching duties. So they have a coach, but it's still kind of a tumultuous 1991-92 season for the Pens. The team is sold during that year from the DeBartolo family to Howard Baldwin. Mario Lemieux suffers through some injuries and misses about 20% of the regular season. He still wins the scoring title anyway because, Mario. The Pens make a huge trade that year. They deal away Hall of Famers Paul Coffey and Mark Recchi, 2 of the guys that were hugely instrumental in that first cup, for Rick Tocchet, Kjell Samuelsson, and Ken Reggett from Philly. And I just remember hating that trade so much at the time. Because I loved Coffey and Recchi, but I hated Tocchet because he was a flyer. And then same with Reggett because he was the guy who had knocked us out of the playoffs a couple of years earlier.
I don't know that Kjell Samuelsson gave us a terrible amount, but Tocchet ends up being a key part of that 92 team.
He does. I mean, it was a good trade in the long run. And I think Coffey was going to be a free agent. I mean, it was the right deal to make, I guess, but man,
and they got a pretty good return out of it too. Yeah,
they did. It hurt at the time.
Yeah.
The Pens do make it back to the playoffs, but not as division champions like the previous year. This time they finished with a record of 39, 32, and 9. So 39 and 32, Steve, not exactly like a dominant season, right? They beat the Capitals in the first round in a tough 7-game series. What else is new?
Yeah,
they're actually down 3-1 in that series and come back and win.
That's pretty on brand for the Capitals.
Yep. It sure is. In the second round, they're taking on the Rangers, who had won the President's Trophy that season.
Boy, I hope they don't do anything dirty.
Yeah, I hope not either, and they don't really need to, because the Rangers are kind of like the team of destiny that year. You know, they were the best team in the league. They had made this huge splash trade to get this guy named Mark Messier from Edmonton.
Well, his leadership will carry them through, Tim. They won't need any of that, dirty stuff like overhand chop with your stick on the best player's hand.
They won't need that until they drop game 1 to the Penguins.
So Mark Messier's leadership did not carry them through.
Right. At least not for game 1. So let's see how the Rangers respond in game 2, Steve.
Lemieux cuts across. Watch Graves' stick. It looked like it was on the wrist.
Certainly
you can see Lemieux pull his arm and his hand outside of the glove. This is a slash, heel first. Kind of a two-handed chop right to the hand. That was a chop more than a slash. Lemieux goes down. He's injured his left hand.
The referee, you can see, I was watching the ref on that play because I've seen it so many times, and you can see his head's looking right at the play. And his arm doesn't go up, doesn't do anything, just like, play on.
Yeah. Adam Graves.
That's hockey, boys.
Yeah, Adam Graves, two-handed chop, slashes Mario Lemieux, breaks his hand. It's the cheapest thing ever. The NHL does suspend Graves, but not immediately, because, NHL, they wait till there's like a huge outcry, then they finally say, oh yeah, he's suspended. But that didn't even really matter, because the Rangers losing Adam Graves meant nothing compared to the Penguins losing Mario Lemieux. If they really wanted to be fair, Steve, they would have said, okay, well, if Mario can't play, then neither can Messier. But that would have been way more, appropriate punishment. And the NHL,
I don't think you can do that. I don't think
they could do that.
That's
if they
not the
to.
way these things work, Tim.
It's not. But legitimately,
we just go around punishing poor innocent Mark Messier, who was maybe not even on the ice. What did he do? Just because he plays on the same team as Adam Graves, he's guilty.
But what did the Rangers losing Adam Graves cost them compared to the Penguins?
Well,
losing
whatever. It's just the way it goes. Life's not fair, Tim.
Yeah, that was just complete nonsense. So the Rangers win game 2 and they win game 3. And then the Penguins just channel all the rage and kind of like sense of injustice they have, and they just never lose again. They win 3 in a row to eliminate New York. They win 4 in a row to eliminate Boston, and they're back in the Stanley Cup Finals. And that win against New York is still to this day one that I savor immensely. I think if I had to pick like a top 3 of like most satisfying wins in Pittsburgh sports history, Steve, it would be that win over New York in '92, and then the playoff wins by the Steelers over the Bengals in 2005 and 2015.
Yeah. I always thought that game against the Colts was satisfying. That was even more than some of the Super Bowls, because it was just such they did everything in their power to screw us, and then it was like, nope, we're gonna do it anyway.
Yeah, that would be a good candidate too. That's a good one too. So that's the path for the Penguins. How about Chicago? How did they get here? Well, Steve just mentioned the playoff game against the Colts, and I think that's a really good comparison to where the Blackhawks were, because in 2005, the Colts had by far the best team in the league, but they were massively upset in the postseason by the Steelers. And what did the Colts do with that? They used it as motivation to make it to the Super Bowl the following year, when they weren't necessarily as dominant during the regular season. And that's exactly the path that the Blackhawks are on here in '92, because in 1991, they're the best team in hockey. They're the Stanley Cup favorites. And just like the 2005 Colts, they lose their first playoff matchup against the Minnesota North Stars, a team that had 22 fewer wins than them.
The Minnesota North Stars, they're in Dallas, Tim.
They're not North anymore, but back then they were the North Stars. Yeah, and that was a huge upset. So in '92, the Blackhawks aren't quite as dominant as they were in '91, but still pretty solid. And this time, just like the Colts, they're ready to redeem their postseason run, and they do that with really just suffocating defense. The 3 teams they play in the playoffs are all offensive powerhouses. They defeat St. Louis, who has 70 goal scorer Brett Hall. They defeat Detroit, who had scored the most goals in the conference. And then they beat Edmonton, who had been to 6 out of the previous 9 Stanley Cup Finals. So Chicago takes down 3 really good teams, and they do all of this without really losing any games. They drop games 2 and 3 in the first round, and that's it. That's the list. So they come into the Stanley Cup Finals on an 11.
So game 1 is a team. Wow. How was it? Do you say 11-game winning streak?
11-game winning streak. They have not lost for literally a month.
What did the Penguins winning streak?
The Penguins come in on a 7-game winning streak.
They're just slacking off there, aren't they? Oh my gosh. And these teams are like if you look at the rosters of these teams, like how many Hall of Famers are on there between these two teams?
Oh yeah, here we'll get to that in a second.
What are we looking at? Like 30, 20? I mean, I'm probably short a couple there. And I'm not even talking about the Panthers. The Blackhawks were a really good team.
Yeah, there's a ton of hype around this matchup, especially like you said, given that there's so many good players, and given that both teams haven't lost in a long time. So let's do that. Let's take a closer look at the matchup and some of the key pieces. And first, let's talk about the coaches. You know, we already talked about Scotty Bowman. Like we said, he has quite the resume coming into this series. The Blackhawks coach, Steve, do you remember who this gentleman was?
That would be one Mike Keenan.
How would you describe Mike Keenan personality-wise?
I mean, he's pretty affable and lovable. He's a guy you want to, shake his hand, bring him to dinner. No, he is the Tom Coughlin of hockey. He is definitely very strict and authoritarian, and just very brash and loud, and says a lot of things.
Not afraid to speak his mind.
He could be the Donald Trump of hockey at that time, I guess. There you go.
Well, there was an incident that I think would have caused a lot more of a stir today, where one of the newspapers did a little cartoon and depicted him as Hitler, because Mike Keenan had this little short mustache. It wasn't quite like a Hitler mustache, but they depicted him as Hitler, and that caused a little bit of a stir because Keenan's wife had family that was at Auschwitz, so it was pretty insensitive. But like I said, I think that would have caused more of a stir today. But that's kind of was Mike Keenan's reputation.
I mean, it's a joke. They weren't serious. All right. I think that's the difference. Is it was just a joke.
Maybe an insensitive joke, but still a joke.
Yeah, it wasn't like when people say that nowadays, they're serious.
Yeah.
They mean it.
Yeah. So yeah, Mike Keenan's the coach of the Blackhawks. He has a pretty good resume too. He twice led the Flyers to the Stanley Cup Finals, but was beaten both times by Wayne Gretzky and the Oilers. And Chicago makes him both the coach and the general manager, and he builds a winner again in Chicago. And like we said, Keenan's not the warm and fuzzy type. Neither is Scotty Bowman, I mean, to be fair. And there's also some history between these two. Back in 1983, Bowman is coaching the Buffalo Sabres, and Keenan is coaching the farm team for the Sabres. And Bowman supposedly wouldn't promote Keenan, so he left. And there was reportedly bad blood between these two, although Keenan firmly denies that.
Okay. Who you gotta believe?
Yeah, I mean, you know how those things are. You gotta find angles to stories, and who knows what was true and what wasn't. In terms of the on the ice stuff, this is one of those classic high-powered offense versus stifling defense kind of matchups. The Penguins have the top 4 scorers in the entire playoffs. They have Lemieux, who, despite missing a bunch of games with that broken hand, still leads everyone in scoring because, again, he's Mario. Then Kevin Stevens, Ron Francis, and this young kid named Jaromir Jagr. Those are the top 4 scorers in the playoffs, and they all play for Pittsburgh. The Penguins also have Hall of Famers Larry Murphy and Brian Trottier. So the Penguins are just stacked offensively. But, so were St. Louis, Detroit, and Edmonton, and Chicago dispatched each of those teams. The Blackhawks have some pretty good players themselves. They have Hall of Famer Chris Chelios as their star defenseman, and he's paired with all-star defenseman Steve Smith, who had won 3 Stanley Cups with the Oilers and who had come over via trade that season. They also have a Hall of Fame goaltender named Ed Belfour, who's been lights out in the playoffs.
They have a Hall of Famer on the bench too,
and they have a Hall of Fame backup. What's his name, Steve?
Dominic Hasek.
Dominic Hasek is their backup goaltender. So that's how stacked this team is. And it's really not just the defensemen and goaltenders. The Blackhawks as a team just play a very defensive-minded game. Rick Tocchet says they forecheck and hit like nobody else in the league. But, Chicago's not just all defense. And if you don't believe me, just ask Mike Keenan.
Well, if the truth are known, the Blackhawks have generated more offense in the playoffs than the Penguins. And if you look at the offensive records, the Blackhawks have scored 4.5 goals per game. The Penguins have scored 4.
So suck on that.
So somehow that half goal, like the puck went halfway across. No.
That's such a Mike Keenan,
He's sticking to his 0.5 there.
It's just if you look at the stats and that's the kind of stuff.
That's the most pro football focus answer ever.
Yeah.
Air yards. If you look at air yards, it's like, good God. That'll do it for a player you don't like.
Now, to be fair, the Blackhawks do have some pretty good scorers. Chief among them is a 22-year-old kid named Jeremy Roenick. Roenick has a breakout 53 goal season that year, and he'll ultimately make it to the Hall of Fame. So the Blackhawks can score goals too. The Penguins are also no slouch on defense. They have Alf Samuelsson as their enforcer. They also have a Hall of Fame goaltender, just like the Blackhawks, a guy named Tom Barrasso. So all in all in this series, Steve, to your earlier point, we have 11 Hall of Famers playing in this game. And that list does not include guys like Jaromir Jagr, who isn't eligible yet because he's still playing. Rick Tocchet, who was a 4-time All-Star. Steve Larmer for the Blackhawks, who was one of the top scorers in the playoffs that year. Dirk Graham, who was the great captain of the Blackhawks. Like, there's some really good players who aren't Hall of Famers that at the time were elite. Yeah. Best in the league kind of players. So just a plethora of talent.
This is kind of like a dream matchup for the NHL. You think they would have made more hype about it. It doesn't, I don't know.
Yeah, well, the NHL doesn't like to, sell itself.
Well, they don't want to toot their own horn. They like to stay humble.
Yeah.
Stay in Canada mainly. They're okay.
Yeah, let garbage players take out the star players, because who wants to watch the star players? But anyway, we digress. Game 1 is in Pittsburgh. The whole city is understandably ramped up. Let's hear from one of the locals who may or may not have had a few drinks before they stuck a camera in front of them.
This should be fun.
I honestly can't tell. I'm not sure. Let's see.
Okay.
Badger Bob is with us tonight. He sits in heaven on a big Stanley Cup throne. He's wearing a Mario Lemieux hat, a big long white robe, sandaled shoes, and he's smiling his butt off. Go Pens.
Wow. Okay.
So there you go. Fans are ready.
We need like the music or something. Like that needs music or something with it. Like really like sappy music or something. It even said it like a Pittsburgh Mario.
Badger Bob's in heaven with his robe. But yeah.
Stanley Cup throne.
Yeah. Yep.
What is this, like
awesome.
the Game of Thrones? And so,
the Civic Arena is packed. The players are all introduced. And all of the Chicago players get roundly booed, including Robbie Brown, which kind of surprised me watching this again because we loved Robbie Brown. But hey, you play for the Blackhawks, so you're the enemy now, I guess. Then they trot out an 11-year-old girl from Gibsonia to sing the national anthem.
She'll never go anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, they have a child singing the national anthem for such a huge game. I hope she's got some talent, huh, Steve?
Yeah.
Her name is Christina Aguilera.
Oh, you're not going to play it? Oh,
I am going to play it.
Oh.
You want to hear some of that? Here.
Yeah.
Here's 11-year-old Christina Aguilera singing the national anthem at Game 1.
Wow.
There
I
you
think
go.
she's got talent. I think she's going to go somewhere, Tim. Maybe win a Grammy.
Future superstar right there.
Yeah. Pittsburgh's own.
Yep. Also in attendance at this game is a current superstar. It's actor and Chicago fan Jim Belushi, who the cameras will cut to way too often during this game.
He's in Pittsburgh?
Yeah, he's sitting in the crowd with a cardboard sign that says "Pass the Cup." I never understood Jim Belushi, Steve. I don't know why.
Well, you see, he's John's brother, so he's all right. I never really liked According to Jim. I can't think of a movie that. What was the movie with the dog?
Canine
Cop. Was that Canine Cop? That wasn't bad.
Oh, have you watched it in the last 20 years? Because
maybe not. Maybe I just liked it when I was a kid.
Yeah, I watched it.
I call that the Blackbeard's ghost effect. I loved that movie too when I was a kid.
Yeah, my when my kids were a little younger, they were really into like dog movies. Any movie that had a dog in it.
Oh, there you go.
And so I was like, oh, let's watch.
That's me too. I mean, put a dog in a movie, I'll watch it.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, this would be a good one to watch. I watched it. It's so bad. It's so bad. And he's so bad in it. So like I said, I never understood the Jim Belushi thing. I mean, more power to him.
Except for A Dog's Purpose, which I did watch, which don't let your kids watch that movie.
Yeah, we stayed away from that one. We have their favorite when they were little was Marley and Me. And that one
now come on now. That's not as bad as A Dog's Purpose. At least the dog only dies once, but geez.
Right. Man. That one's kind of sad at the end.
That's too much. But at least you have a lot of good times with it.
Yes. That one I think is, if you're going to pick a movie where the dog dies, spoilers, that's a good one.
If you don't know that the dog dies of Marley and Me, then what are you doing? I tell you what, another good dog movie, The Art of Driving in the Rain or whatever.
I never saw that one.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Okay. Yeah. But again, we digress.
Yeah.
Sorry. So no dogs at this game that I can see, at least in rewatching it. So yeah, finally, all the hype, all the pomp and circumstance, we're finally ready to play for Lord Stanley's Cup. The game starts. The Penguins get the first good scoring chance. Steve, see if you remember this player.
Up off the boards, Cam Russell chasing it, but here's McEachran with great speed. Diving play by Marchmont. Then McEachran gets a chance, and Belfour able to cover the puck and hold it.
Scotty McEachran.
Sean.
Sean. Did I say Scotty?
Yeah.
Sean. Yeah, he was pretty good. It wasn't like it was like another one of, like you're saying, like that guy. He was playing well that year too. Sean McEachran.
He was one of those guys that was kind of like you thought in the future he might be a star.
I think this was as good as he ever was going to get. Like you make that mistake with. I've learned that over the years. Like sometimes, like you project people, like, oh, they're playing this good and they improved that much. They're going to improve that much more. And you don't realize that they've reached the top of their talent level.
Yeah, he never really becomes a star. I did look it up, and I didn't remember this. He does have a 40-goal season with Ottawa, like way later in his career. But
he wasn't a bad player. He's not like a bad player. He's a good player. He's just not a Hall of Famer.
Or even like an all-star. That's kind of, you just thought he had so much potential. You thought he was going to be better than he ended up being. Yeah. So about a minute later, Mike Hudson is called for interference, and the Penguins get the first power play. But Chicago clamps down. The Penguins don't even really get set until the very end of that power play, and they come away with nothing. The Blackhawks then really start pressing their forecheck. They get some good pressure on Barrasso, and they draw a holding penalty on Gordy Roberts.
No, Gordy Roberts. I remember him.
Oh, yeah. And on the ensuing Chicago power play, here's what happens.
Now the Blackhawks on the power play. Chilio scores! Seven seconds after the penalty to Roberts, Chicago takes the lead.
What the heck's everybody booing about? Was the penalty like that close or something? Or
so yeah, that's a great question. The booing is because on the face-off, the face-off was in the Penguin zone, and
and he just kind of skates into the between the dot area and just shoots an uncontested shot.
Because Ron Francis got tripped after the faceoff. Ron Francis got tripped and knocked over, and that's why Kelly just kind of stayed, like you said, skated in uncontested.
Like, because like I saw that, it's like, yeah, you can't really let a guy do that.
Yeah, it's hard to see on the replay, but if you look at the beginning of it, you see Francis is on the ground.
Oh yeah, he's not blocking a shot there.
Right. Right. So that's what happened. That's why everybody was booing.
Like, he takes a shot from like inside the dot. And that's really hard to stop as a goalie.
Yep. And that's exactly what happened. That's why everybody was booing, because they thought that should have been a penalty for the takedown of.
Oh, you
Francis.
can see the guy's stick. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, not great, but you can see he has his arms like he has.
Yes.
Yeah. Once again, low def TV doesn't do us much favors here.
Yeah, but no call, and it's 1-0 Chicago. Meanwhile, the Penguins really can't generate any offense, and the Blackhawks are just all over Mario. Although not without a cost.
Doesn't matter who's on the ice against Mario Lemieux. They want him picked up when they're headed into the Chicago end. So Mike Keenan on this one, Steve Larmer has picked up the assignment. So Mike Keenan has obviously told his guys, look, if I don't have the matchup out there that I want, somebody pick him up, but be ready to pay the price.
I'll say.
Wow. And just for context, Mario is trying to skate, and Steve Larmer literally had his stick across Mario's midsection, and Mario was towing Steve Larmer for a free ride. So I guess it was, free Mario rides day at the arena. He should have probably paid $5 for that. And then after that, I didn't catch the number. Somebody absolutely.
It was number 5, Steve. Who else would
it? Oh, okay. Yeah. Who else?
Yeah.
The one, the only Alfie. That's how he, that was the fee for the Mario ride.
Right. Right. Yeah. Like, Alf Samuelson just destroys Steve Larmer along the boards. And Steve Larmer was a tough son of a gun.
And that's just dirty, though. That's holding.
Yeah, I don't know why you don't call that, but again, it's the NHL, and they don't.
And then you have that happen, and they're like, "Oh, look, the Penguins are dirty play." Yeah.
And Steve Larmer, from 1982 to 1993, plays in 884 consecutive games for the Blackhawks.
Goodness
He's
gracious!
Not a guy you could hurt or intimidate very easily, but Alf was sure going to try it.
Yeah.
Regardless, the Blackhawks continue to play solid defense. They kill off a second Penguins power play, and then
battle for the puck along the boards. Chelios is pinched in deep. Del Samuelson slid away from Hudson, and look at the check that Smith just threw, and it's 2-0 Chicago. They take the man off the puck and score for the 2-zip lead.
There's a shot of Jim Belushi cheering.
Yep.
I couldn't really see. They said they took the man off the puck. You really couldn't see it that well. I don't know.
Yeah. It's just it's what they did. They forechecked, right? Like they were always.
And it went to the middle of the ice, and once again, it was like inside that. I'm trying to think from our perspective, like inside the right dot, I guess. Yes. And it was a shot almost from the same shot that the earlier goal was, very similar.
Yep.
I mean, in the Penguins, in the previous clip, it said 0 for 4 in the penalty or power play. If you're going to not score in a power play, the Blackhawks are going to keep taking penalties. Why not? There's no, consequence to it,
Yeah. Yeah. Good point.
Look, Jim Belushi looks really visibly annoyed. Like somebody isn't going to heckle you. You're cheering for the Blackhawks, you idiot. I
like that he's wearing a suit and tie also to this game.
Classy.
Yeah.
Classy.
Yeah. So first goal was scored by Hall of Famer Chris Chelios. Second goal was scored by Hall of Famer Michel Goulet.
Well, at least they're not giving them up to the chumps.
Right. Right. So it's 2-0 Chicago, but hey, whatever. No worries. The Pens were kind of notorious for slow starts back then. They'll get back into this game, right, Steve?
Sure.
Well, the Penguins on home ice in a hole here in the first period. Chris Chelios with a shot off the stick. Loose in front of the Blackhawks lead 3-0. Dirk Graham finishes it on.
Man, does this aggressive machine have it wound up and revved up here.
The arena is getting really quiet there at 3-0. And you know what? They evened it out. They scored from the left side dot that time. They didn't want to make it, all one-sided. Keep Brasso guessing a little bit.
And that Dirk Graham goal was 26 seconds after the Goulet goal.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, now it's 3-0. We're still in the first period. The Penguins are getting slaughtered. They have no answer for Chicago. This is not a good start. Finally, Mario sparks the team. He charges into the Chicago zone and he draws a holding call against Blackhawks defenseman Igor Kravchuk. So
that guy must have been sitting on his back or something.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it was ride Mario around the arena. Finally, somebody calls that.
Well, they had been okay. If you're 0 for 4 in the first period, they had been calling penalties.
They had.
If you call for a penalty, you can't say, "Oh, they weren't calling any penalty." They were. The Penguins just weren't scoring on them. Give credit to the Blackhawks for killing them off and having good defense. So
yeah. So now are they going to kill off another one? Well, Scotty Bowman does something interesting here, Steve. He calls timeout.
Oh, you only get one.
And you only get one. And remember, we're like halfway through the first period.
Well, that sounds like a smart time to use it.
Yeah, I mean, I think he knows this ensuing power play is critical if the Penguins want to have any chance of climbing back into the game.
He's been in a few Stanley Cup Finals, so he would know.
He would. I mean, will it work? Does it work? Let's find out.
Played around behind the net by Phil Bourque. Stanton trying to put it out in front. Here's Bourque on a wraparound. He scores!
Woohoo! That was nice. That was close in. I don't know where the Chicago defense went on that one. They kind of got him running around behind their own net. He circled out to around to the left. That was the left side front of the net, and he just put it right in there. So
yeah, that was the old 2-9er Phil Bourque.
Yeah.
And he's
going to take that goal and party down by the river all summer.
Phil Bourque talks about that goal in his book. He says that he and Bob Erie were talking on the bench right before that about how Belfour, they noticed Belfour whenever you played a puck from behind the net, he kind of was awkward getting back into position. And he and Bob Erie were talking about just being patient when that happens. Like, don't just try to do a quick wraparound. And that's exactly what Bourque did. He kind of came out, like you said, slowly glided a little bit and then shot the puck. And that pays off and he scores.
It was close in too, and there was no defense around them, which they kind of had them like the Penguins kind of forecheck there in their own Penguin kind of way.
A lot of open ice here in the first period, right?
Yeah.
So the Penguins get a goal at the first intermission. It's 3-1 Chicago, but that's better than 3-0.
Hey, there's no shot of Jim Belushi on that goal.
No, we only get Jim Belushi. We only get happy Jim Belushi.
Oh.
Because all his movies were comedies, so you can't have sad Jim Belushi or angry Jim Belushi. So yeah, 3-1. During the intermission, here's Doc Emmerich talking to Rick Tocchet about what he thinks went wrong in that first period.
Do you have to feel a little better about the last 4 or 5 minutes of that period in terms of the chances you were getting, Rick?
They're saying this forecheck, and I think we're kind of being too intimidated by this great forecheck. They got a good forecheck, but we're just as big as them. We can't be intimidated by them.
Yeah, I gotta love Rick Tocchet. I can see why this guy's a good coach.
Yeah,
yeah, that's exactly what they probably needed to hear.
Yeah. I mean, remember in the Super Bowl when the Steelers were playing the Cowboys and Lambert threw Cliff Harris down to the ground.
It's kind of the same, yeah.
Because he felt like they were intimidating. He said later he felt like they were intimidating us, and we weren't going to be intimidated. And that's kind of the stance Rick Tocchet's taken here.
Nice.
So we head to the second period, but first, Steve, a word from this game's sponsor.
Welcome back to Pittsburgh. The opening of the second period is brought to you by Molson, a part of the NHL tradition since 1957. Molson is Canadian beer.
Okay.
Molson is Canadian beer. I mean, that's a fact.
I've had Molson before. I don't know. Okay, maybe they're trying to make inroads into Pittsburgh, Tim. I don't know. I've lived in Pittsburgh and I've had a Molson.
I prefer Labatt's.
I think I've had maybe it was Labatt. I don't know. I had one of those Canadian beers. They're okay. I still like Miller better. I can't really drink anymore. I miss that. Getting old sucks, Tim. I can maybe have one and I'm done.
Yeah,
I'm such an old person. That's it. I'm out, people. I'm good.
Yeah, I'm in a similar boat.
Yeah.
So after a high-flying first period, the game kind of settles down here a lot in the second period. Not a ton of chances for either team during the first half of the second period. Meanwhile, Chicago's strategy to contain Mario is pretty obvious.
Boy, it doesn't take long for a crowd to gather when Lemieux crosses the blue line. 3 Blackhawks all around him. Look at this. I mean, they're down a man as well, but they're still willing to try to gang tackle Mario Lemieux.
Did they just use the word gang tackle?
They did.
I don't think that's... He doesn't have the puck. Didn't they call somebody for interference earlier in the game?
Yeah.
I guess you just can't call every penalty, but this is crazy.
Yeah, it's like you said, Steve. It's not egregious because they are calling penalties in this game, but like you said, it's like Chicago, I think, is playing the numbers game. It's like, okay, we'll take. I think you called it. Like, it's like, we'll take some penalties, but we're going to get away with more than we get called for, and it'll be worth it because our forecheck's so good we can kill off the penalties. It's working.
Yeah,
it's working.
It's working. So right now, you would say the game is being played the way Chicago wants the game to be played.
100%.
Because they always say great styles make great fights. You know, you got a guy that's more defensive against a guy more offensive. You have Navy, a running team, versus, a high-flying Hawaii offense that just throws the ball 100 times a game. That's going to be a great matchup. Who's going to win this? You got a great defensive team like the Steelers against a high-flying Dallas Cowboys. Those are the games that people, want to see. And that's what's happening right now. Right now, the defensive team is winning.
Yeah, it's favoring Chicago. So can the Pens maybe fight through this and cut the deficit some more? I mean, they got that goal at the end of the first period. So let's see what happens next.
Up ice comes Mario Lemieux. Dropped it to Stanton, moves in all the way in, and a shot blocked by Belfour. Now back come the Chicago team. Larmer with a pass to Brent Sutter. He shoots, he scores! A very, very quiet Civic Arena as Chicago has taken a 4-1 lead over the Penguins.
Now there's a lot more open play there, but that's a terrible goal by Barrasso.
Yeah.
So the guy shoots the puck, and he wasn't that close. I think it was outside the left dot, and he just, wow. Or was it the right dot? That's left dot. And it just goes right between his legs.
Yeah.
And he's down, and he's kind of around the dot. It's in a critical area where you don't want people shooting, but he's not screened or anything. Yeah, he should have made that save. If you're a good goalie, you got to make a save every once in a while.
Yeah. And Barrasso, I mean, like you said, on those other goals, it was guys kind of right in front of the net, but he's not playing a good. So let's take stock, right? Barrasso's not playing a good game. That goal comes at 11:36 of the second period, so we're more than halfway through the game here. The Blackhawks again have a 3-goal lead. They can't rely on their goaltender. The Penguins at this point only have 5 shots on net, and they really aren't generating any offense. So it kind of feels like game over here because, like you said, Steve, the game is tilted the exact way Chicago wants it. Their strength is defense, and it's just going their way. Ron Francis later says, he said, we didn't come out well, but we never feel like we're out of it. Kevin Stevens says the same thing. He says, we're never out of anything. So the Penguins aren't giving up, even if, I think those of us watching this game and probably the people in the arena were a little bit like, okay, maybe we'll just get them in game 2. The Penguins need a break, and they get one when Chicago takes a too many men on the ice penalty.
Now that's a bad penalty.
Yeah.
Then again, Keenan might have been trying to get a matchup, with Mario. So Mario might have forced that, or
possibly. But I mean, that's the equivalent of like a pre-snap penalty in football,
right?
And
it's an unforced error per se,
right? And like Kravchuk, holding Mario or interference penalties, like at least that's in the heat of the action. Maybe that even prevents a goal because he took a penalty. But yeah, just not having the right number of guys on the ice, that's avoidable. But even still, the Blackhawks are just about to kill off that penalty when this happens.
One more chance for Pittsburgh. Stanton off the right face-off circle into the corner. McEachran to Stanton. He scored!
Wow. That was a nice shot.
It was actually not Paul Stanton. It's tipped by Rick Tocchet, a helmetless Rick Tocchet, who deflects it past Belfour.
Because you can see the water bottle. Yeah, look at that. He's right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it pops the water bottle. You see the water bottle go up on that. That's the only reason that went in, because Belfour was right there. That's not Belfour. See, as much as the other one was Barrasso's fault, that one is not Belfour's fault. As a goalie, there's nothing you can do about that.
Yeah, Belfour got low, which would have stopped.
He was right
shot.
there. He's right there to stop the shot. Yeah.
Yeah, but because it gets deflected, it goes over his shoulder, and it's not a pretty goal, but when you're down by 3, I think you'll take whatever you can get.
Maybe some signs of life.
Pens have some momentum. They're still really having trouble though finding open space against the Blackhawks forecheck. Like we said, they barely had any shots on goal, even with the multiple power plays they had. Fortunately, there's a man who has a solution for that.
Into the Chicago zone. Pulls up and lost the puck. Now we'll get it back. Lemieux has it. Come down deep. Shooter to Belfour goes in! Mario Lemieux uses Belfour like a ping pong ball. He shot it. He carried off of it. And the Penguins make it 4-3. Oh no, Eddie Spaghetti!
That was a little bit lucky, a little bit on purpose. Like, I think Belfour played out because he got out because he figured Mario wasn't going to wrap or anything. But Mario's behind the red line, isn't he? Behind the goal
he's
line?
literally behind the goal line.
And he did the old, and that's an old trick. Like, you bounce it off the goalie and in, and that's exactly what he did. Like that's just Mario being Mario. Like you said, Mario being great. The great players can do that. So.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, because who even tries a shot like that?
And I feel bad for Belfour because he got made look like a fool, but I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah,
that was impressive.
Yeah. And the crazy thing is, Steve, it ends up being like the 3rd best goal of this game. So now all of a sudden, momentum's totally swung. They start playing the Hey song at the arena.
That'll never go out of style.
Yeah, well, I think that was before what's his name had all the charges against him. But yeah, now it's all of a sudden it's 4-3. The Penguins have scored 2 goals. Every crowd's back into the game, and now Chicago calls their timeout.
Oh wow! In the second period.
Yeah.
Wow, we're getting liberal with the timeouts today.
Yeah, and just like when Bowman called it, full credit to Keenan, because that does seem to steady the ship for the Blackhawks, and also honestly, full credit to Chris Chelios. That's a guy I never liked as a player. Really did not like Chris Chelios, but watching this game again, you can see why he was so revered. He's just everywhere. Like, he's stopping the Penguins when they bring the puck into the Chicago zone. He's moving the puck into the Pittsburgh zone. So the Blackhawks after this really kind of just get back into their game. And so even though the Penguins were able to make it a 1-score game, Chicago goes right back into the forecheck.
And they're not probably going to be bothered by a 1-score game, I would imagine.
No, especially again, they were battle tested by this point. You go through 3 rounds of the playoffs against teams like Detroit and Edmonton. You're not going to be too worried. And so it really stays that way well into the 3rd period. Once again, the Penguins are not finding a lot of opportunities in the 3rd period. And when they are, Eddie Belfour is doing this.
Gagne forced back of the net. The Penguins up with it. McEachran puts it out in front. Oh, what a chance there, and it's turned aside. Came right out in front again.
That was a nice save, like right in front by one Sean McEachran. And that was right in that dangerous area again. It's wild. Like, for a defensive team, like the Blackhawks are giving up some chances here.
Yeah. I mean, they're defensive, but it also helps to have, again, the Hall of Fame goaltender to make sure that when there are chances, because you're not going to stop everything. When there are chances, you can stop it. So the Blackhawks are back on their game. The Penguins, not able to score. But one thing that does change here into the third period is they're not giving up any opportunities either.
Kopchak, long shot, blocked by Barrasso. Chelios with the rebound, sets up Roenick, glove save by Barrasso.
There you go. I think Barrasso is one. That's what makes him a Hall of Famer. Is he has like that short-term memory that all the great athletes do, or that confidence. He isn't going to lose his confidence because he gave up a couple goals.
Right. Yeah, he wasn't going to get pulled after that fourth goal. He was going to stay in there and do a really good job stopping Chicago. And on that play, he robs Jeremy Roenick, who is mostly invisible in this game, and later gets criticized by Keenan because that's what he did, is threw his players under the bus
in the media too. It was
right.
Weird. It's a weird way of coaching.
Yep,
works for him, I guess.
I guess. I mean, again, he had a lot of success. So that's really the way most of the third period goes. Each team has a chance or two, but it's mostly one of those periods where most of the action is really between the blue lines. There's not a lot of whistles. It's just kind of skate up and down, and it's a 4-3 game. Chicago's doing a good job protecting their 1-goal lead, and now the Penguins are down to their final 5 minutes. Can they get another goal? And one guy who's been quiet in this game, much like Roenick, is Jaromir Jagr. And actually, quiet's generous because Jagr had actually been pretty bad. There's multiple instances where he keeps playing like hero ball, or I guess hero puck, since this is hockey.
Tries to do it all by himself.
Right. He keeps trying. He makes these 1-on-2 high risk plays, and he does it several times on the power play, which enables Chicago to clear the puck. Instead of getting set, he just tries to charge his way in, and then Chicago just takes the puck away and clears it. That Goulet goal, Steve, remember you said how Chicago pinched and took the puck away? That was Jagr, who they got the puck off of.
It's hard to see the numbers quite
right. Yeah, you said, low def TV.
Yeah.
That was Jagr. So he's not playing a good game. Bill Clement, who's announcing this game, even wonders if Jagr's nervous. He notes that Jagr's parents had flown over for this game.
Oh, wow. From Czech Republic. Wow.
Yeah, he just wonders if Jagr maybe just has the jitters, because he just seems to be that off of his game. Well, here with 5 minutes left in the game, Jagr again tries to make a hero play, but this time it actually works.
And he has had a big night, but they can't clear it this time. Jagr has the puck. Trying to work around Brent Sutter, does. Comes in around with another man. Comes in the slot, turns with a backhander. Hey! Joseph scores! Jaromir Jagr ties it for the Penguins. Oh, buck 'em, Dano. A great individual play by 68, and the Penguins have tied it at 4.
Wow. You've seen that goal 100 times. It's amazing. The Chicago defenseman comes in on him. He literally puts it between his legs.
Yeah.
And then fakes out another Chicago defender somehow. And there's still 2 more and Belfour in front of the net. And he slips a backhand. I don't think that went high. I think that was on the ice, wasn't it?
It was between his legs.
Yeah. Only Jagr, like the Mario, how that was an only Mario goal. That's an only Jagr goal.
Yeah. Yeah. He's 1-on-3 against this really good Chicago defense, and he just kind of skates around everyone and then backhands it through Belfour. It's Mario Lemieux calls it the greatest goal he's ever seen.
I agree, Mario. Yeah, he's not wrong.
It's high praise coming from Mario, obviously. So yeah, the kind of a miracle goal ties the game at 4 after the Blackhawks had a 3-0 lead and then a 4-1 lead. And the final minutes tick down. The Blackhawks do get a golden opportunity. Larry Murphy gets called for hooking with just a little over 2 minutes left. So the Blackhawks are going to have basically the last couple of minutes of the game on a power play, but the Penguins kill that off. So now we're just down to the final few seconds. It really looks like we're headed to overtime, and how appropriate, right? This incredible matchup, these powerhouse teams who haven't lost in forever. Chicago had a big lead. Pittsburgh comes back. All these great players like Jagr and Chelios and Tocchet and Belfour, just creating this epic game that gets to be decided in sudden death overtime. Wow.
Sounds like it would make a great movie.
It does. What a storybook game, right? So we're headed to overtime. Or wait a second, are we?
I think Mario's going to call game.
Yeah, there's one guy on the ice who's like, I don't want to play the overtime tonight.
It's cleared out by Pittsburgh. That kills off the penalty. Lemieux moves up. Taken down. There will be a penalty against Chicago. A hooking penalty to the other side with 17 and 2/10 seconds left in regulation time.
That was a must-take penalty. That's not a cheapie. That's not a cheat. You had to do that. You cannot let Mario go one-on-one with Belfour's good. No, you take that penalty 10 times out of 10. I do not blame that. It was 17 seconds left in the game. Heck yeah, he did the exact right thing. I mean, that's the only thing you can do.
Yeah.
I mean, it gives the Penguins an advantage, but at least you live to fight another day.
Yeah, that was Steve Smith, who, like we said, had won 3 Stanley Cups with Edmonton. He's a savvy veteran. He can't give up the breakaway goal to lose the game with 17 seconds.
Mario was in the middle of the ice at the blue line with the puck, about to go by him. He just grabs him with his stick and pulls him down. And it was, there's nothing. He did the right thing. It was absolutely the right move. And it wasn't a cheap shot either, though.
No. He just it's like pass interference. It's like when the cornerback's so burnt and you just obviously take a pass interference call because it's better than letting him catch a touchdown. Right? Yeah. Like you said, live to fight another day. So obvious penalty, right, Steve? Well, actually, that play ends up being very controversial. But it's like Seattle Seahawks controversial, like where it's actually not controversial, but people.
I mean, they could have called a penalty shot, maybe. That's the only other.
No. That's not the controversy. Let's see what Blackhawks coach Mike Keenan's very rational take on that play is.
I can't respect Mario for diving. He's the best player in the game, and he's embarrassing other players on the ice as well as embarrassing himself, and I think embarrassing the game. 3 times he took dives, 2 of them resulted in calls, and I just think he's a better player. He has the ability to address people in a one-on-one situation with his ability without taking dives. The thing that's upsetting is that the NHL management set a mandate before the playoffs began about diving and said that those people could, in fact, be given delay a game, and Mario has got the Mario rule, and that is he's a protected player, and therefore they don't call the dives on him, which were obvious.
I didn't think that was that was pretty solid contact, and the guy stick with it between his legs. So I don't know what Mike Keenan's talking about there, or if he saw some other dives in the game that he thought were questionable.
No, he's talking about that one. And to summarize, Mike Keenan thinks Mario should have gotten a penalty on that play, not Steve Smith. Mario.
Yeah, because it's diving, but the best way to deal with diving and flopping in basketball, I've always said, is to just not call anything. And just don't call anything. Because what's Mario going to do? If you don't call anything there, he's laying on the ice. Like, what's he going to do? How's he going to score from there? Well, I mean, I guess it's Mario. You might score from there. You just taking yourself out of the play. That's what I never understood about, like, why soccer is good for that. And I've seen way worse in soccer.
Sure.
And I never understand soccer either. Like, just let a guy take himself out of the play. Like, you don't have to call diving, or just stop being so like ticky-tack with the rules. But that was not.
Well, and to believe that, you have to believe that Mario Lemieux is charging down the ice with 17 seconds left with a chance to win the game, and he intentionally takes himself down instead of being one-on-one with the goaltender. I mean, that's very logical, Mike Keenan. Very logical argument you have there. I mean, it's ridiculous. Mike Keenan's an idiot. I mean, I'm sorry. Like, he just.
I mean, you could have tried to argue for, like, maybe say he's arguing for the next call, so he gets calls in the next games. But That doesn't even make sense.
That's pretty extreme too. I mean, you heard that quote. I mean, that's extreme. And like I said, he believes Mario should have gotten a penalty calling on Mario, not Steve Smith, and that's insane. He also takes a shot at referee Andy Van Hellemond. He says, "quote Somebody didn't prepare himself to call a big game."
Hellerman was never a friend of the Penguins, if I remember correctly.
No,
yeah,
he wasn't. But again, and like the absurdity to say like, oh, the Mario Lemieux role when you saw like Steve Larmer draped over his back,
the
whole time he's on the ice, and they don't call that. I mean, again, it's insanity. It doesn't even deserve me playing the clip, but I couldn't help it. It's so ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
So cool. We're gonna start overtime with the Penguins on a power play. That's good news for Pittsburgh. Well, but hang on. There's still 17 seconds left, and the Penguins will get a face-off in the Chicago zone. But
well, they've had so much success on the power play tonight. That's
right.
Well.
Right. Yeah. I mean, Chicago's playing tight defense. They have the Hall of Fame goaltender. That's really not a lot of time. Maybe if you win the face-off, you'll get a shot off. Let's see what the Penguins can do with their little tiny bit of time left in regulation.
They'll drop the puck. It's free. Out right side, Murphy shooting. Save made rebound on the view. Hey! Shoots and scores! Mario Lemieux and the Penguins lead 5-4, and you'd have to be here to believe it.
You really would. I mean, the arena explodes. The Penguins win.
Yeah, just to describe, it was a shot from the point on the right side. And when Belfour makes the save, a pad save, like ideally you would like to kick that to the corner, but that's easier said than done. Brodeur was really good at that. And so when the rebound comes out, it comes out to that dot area. And unfortunately for Mr. Belfour, there's the greatest scorer in NHL history waiting there with basically Belfour down and out and a wide open net to shoot at. And I don't think Mario is going to miss that one.
Yeah. It's and Mario even said, if that puck gets blocked or something, he was kind of cheating. And if
it would have went the other way.
It would have went the other way if that.
But there's like 17 seconds. I think with that little time left, you can make. I don't know. I guess if there was like 5 seconds left, maybe that's.
Mario knew what he was doing, Steve. I mean, he can say all he wants, but he knew what he was doing. So yeah, the crowd at the Civic Arena goes nuts. Phil Bourque says when Mario scored that goal, that's the loudest that any building has ever been in the history of Pittsburgh sports. Over at Three River Stadium, Genesis is doing a concert, and Phil Collins announces that Mario has just scored with 12 seconds left, and Three River Stadium explodes.
Nice.
It's like an all-time Pittsburgh sports moment. Here's Mike Lang talking about it years later.
The Civic Arena opened up, and the whole world heard the sound of that goal being scored. It was that type of moment.
Nice.
Yeah, pretty cool.
The late Mike Lang.
Yes. So missed. So missed. I said this on the show once before. Sometimes when these moments in sports happen, you can remember exactly where you were and exactly how you felt. And I remember feeling disappointed because it was like, oh, Mario's just better than everybody. Cool. Like, glad we're going to win the cup. But I was kind of under the impression that these were two good teams with all these stars. And Chicago has Hall of Fame defensemen and a Hall of Fame goalie. And game one was back and forth. And this series is probably going to go the full 7. But no, that was all a ruse because Mario was just better than everyone else. And that's really what game one turned into. And that's what the rest of the series turned into.
Yeah. I mean, and honestly, I at that time when for whatever reason, I did not get to watch this game live. I have seen it in replays, obviously, as I've gotten older. I remember watching the clinching game, which was game 4. I remember that more than anything. And I remember there was a sequence where Mario and Yager just passed the puck back and forth, and there was nothing Chicago could do. Because by that game, Chicago gave up playing defense, and they were like, well, we'll just shoot it out with them and hope we score enough goals to win. And they even went to Hosek, and Hosek made a lot of great saves because that game could have been 9-0 and kept them in the game, but the Penguins still won by a couple goals. So
Yeah, the game one really, the way that the Blackhawks lost game
I think
one,
it demoralized that team.
Yes.
And Keenan didn't have any answers after that.
it got them off their game. And then in game two, also at the Civic Arena, they're tied 1-1 with the Penguins, and Belfour stops Mario on a breakaway.
Oh, wow. That's very rare. Yeah.
Yeah. You never saw Mario get stopped on a breakaway. So, okay, they dropped game one after being in the lead. They're tied in game two.
All you want to do is win one of the first two games,
Right.
really.
Right. And you stop Mario on a breakaway at their arena. That feels kind of like maybe that's the turning point, right? Kind of like remember when Fleury stopped Ovechkin on a breakaway in that game 7? Like maybe that's the turning point that the Blackhawks need. Well, guess what happens next, Steve? Mario scores 2 goals a few minutes later, and the Penguins win 3-1.
Yeah.
So, like I said, he's just better than everyone. It's like you stopped him on a breakaway. It was 1-1. Then he makes it 2-1. Then he makes it 3-1, and that's game 2. And now you're going back to Chicago down 0-2, and they drop game 3, and then, like you said, game 4 turns into a shootout. And at the end of that game,
5 seconds to go. Loose around to the far corner. 2 seconds. The Penguins are going to win the Stanley Cup, I believe. Stelios shoots it blocked. The Penguins have won the Stanley Cup. Oh, Lord Stanley, get me the brandy.
Yeah, I remember that. Now, was it the first Stanley Cup where everybody went to the airport? And no, it was it?
Yeah,
or was it
that was the first?
Yeah.
That was the
okay.
year before.
This time they wised up and told people that. I remember, I think, like they were saying, don't come to the airport. And they're like, please don't come to the airport. Which, would you believe, I found this out. The old airport building, do you remember, not, they're building a new, like the pre-1992 airport building. Do you remember that building at all, Tim?
Yeah, vaguely. Yes.
Vaguely, me too. It still exists.
Does it?
Yes, in the most Pittsburgh turn of events. So if you ever take a chartered flight, you can go wander down the halls of the old and relive the 1991 Stanley Cup homecoming, I guess, if you really.
Yeah, the episode we did on the 91 team, we talked about that whole airport thing. And Steve, you made such a good point at the time. You noted how it's amazing that in 1991 at 1 a.m, that many people were like, hey, we're going to the airport. There was no like people posting that on Instagram or
everybody just had the same idea, or
or we're phone calling each other. I don't know, but it was just amazing that many people, like a grassroots kind of thing, could happen like that with no internet. So yeah, the Penguins win the cup. So let's talk a little bit about the aftermath. Mario Lemieux that season scores 24 more points than Mark Messier, despite playing in 15 fewer games. So naturally, who do they give the Hart Trophy to for the NHL's most valuable player?
Messier has the leadership, Tim. You can't underestimate leadership. Leadership, Tim. Leadership. And he doesn't dive.
Yeah, he doesn't dive. Yeah. So yeah, Messier is the MVP. I have the voting here, Steve. Messier gets 341 votes for MVP. Can you guess how many votes Lemieux gets?
Nah, I don't know. 20. I don't know how many.
29.
Wow, I was close.
Yeah, he comes in 5th. Kirk McLean, the goaltender for the Canucks, gets more MVP votes than Mario.
That's, once again, I'm with Mario. Any award you vote on.
Yeah. I mean, Messier gets 341 votes, and Mario outscores him by a lot of points on his way to winning the Stanley Cup and eliminating Messier's team. But 29 votes, so whatever. I'd rather have the cup and the Conn Smythe Trophy if I'm Lemieux, and I'm sure I know he feels the same. He's, like you said, has said that. Chris Chelios gets revenge nearly 2 decades later when he wins the Stanley Cup as a member of the 2008 Red Wings against the Penguins.
Is he the guy that got mad that Crosby didn't shake his hand, or was that somebody else? I think it was somebody else.
I don't remember, but Chris Chelios played until he was like 54. Mike Keenan leaves Chicago to go coach the New York Rangers and leads them to their first,
that's right. Yeah, 94.
Yep, first and as at the time of this recording, only championship since 1940. So yeah, that was kind of.
Oh, they chanted that at the end of that series. They said that it's never been chanted as loud, even on the island, that it was that day, that game, whatever, the game 7, that the Rangers got eliminated. Everyone was chanting 1940.
Yes. Yeah.
1994 doesn't quite have the same ring. 1994.
Yeah, I mean, it's been
really.
a while now. It's been 30 years since the Rangers won a cup.
1994.
And they've won one cup since 1940, but they have that at least. That was kind of gross watching them win a cup and then Mike Keenan being the one to lead them to it. But oh well. The Penguins look like they're going to three-peat the next year, but they lose to the New York freaking Islanders. And then Bowman leaves after that 93 season. That was a whole mess where he was offered a long-term contract, but then he didn't accept that right away. So the Penguins rescinded it. And Howard Baldwin was like, well, we want somebody that wants to be here. It was one of those kinds. It was like the Jamie Dixon thing, where it's like, maybe Scotty Bowman just wanted to leave anyway. But it was unfortunate because
that's bad. Yeah, because Scotty Bowman really was hurting after he went to Detroit and built a winner.
Right. Right, exactly. So
with all the Russian players from the great Russian teams in like the 80s and 90s.
Yeah. And for the Penguins, really, after that,
he could have done that in Pittsburgh. Imagine he'd done that in Pittsburgh. Geez. Added all those guys to like the Yagers and the Lemieux and
Yep. Yeah, and that's really kind of the end of that era for the Penguins. Mario struggles with health issues after that. Howard Baldwin runs the team financially into the ground. I mean, that's the other thing, Steve. Like, the Penguins weren't exactly well managed either under the new ownership. So maybe Bowman builds that same team in Pittsburgh, or maybe he's not able to,
right? Just
because of the ownership. But yeah, it's kind of sad that's you thought the Penguins were capable of more than what they did in that era. But at the end of the day, I mean, two championships,
yeah, 2 in a row isn't bad. It's still not been done. I don't think nobody's won 3 in a row.
Yeah, since before that. Yep. But yeah, the 2 championships, the second of which featured this kind of like this all-time dramatic, memorable game. You can't complain too much, right?
No, you would think the NHL would really be able to catapult off this into getting, becoming a household name.
Yeah. Well, it was good while it lasted, at least in Pittsburgh. And again, really good memory of this game. Any other final thoughts, Steve?
No, that was a fun one to remember. That's a great game in Pittsburgh sports history. I would rank it, somewhere among the top ones. Not a Maz's home run, the Super Bowls, immaculate reception. That's definitely up there.
It is, yeah.
The only thing I think that holds it back is it wasn't a deciding game. If that would have happened to win the cup, if that's how they would have won the cup, oh my goodness! I mean, that would have been up there with Fleury making that save at the last second to win them the cup.
Well, thanks everybody for joining us. Thank you so much for listening to our little show here. If your podcast service allows for ratings and reviews and you would like to leave us a nice one, then we encourage you to do that. Also, please check us out on Facebook. We're pretty active on Facebook. We post lots of fun clips and get into some good discussion there. And we will catch you next time.